Welcome back. Israel launching a new wave of strikes across Iran after Tehran struck a U.S. base in Qatar last night. Fox News chief foreign correspondent Trey Yingst on the ground in Tel Aviv right now. Trey.
Maria, good morning. The Israelis are continuing their air campaign against Iran, striking a series of targets this morning across the capital of Tehran. We're also learning from the Israeli Air Force that one of their F-35s shot down an Iranian jet, a significant development, and they say the first dogfight takedown for the Israeli Air Force since the 1980s. As all of this is taking place, there are new conversations about who will lead Iran in the future. The front runner right now, Mujtaba Khamenei, the son of the killed Ayatollah, who was taken out over the weekend in an Israeli strike. We do understand that he has deep ties in the security apparatus in Iran. Now, President Trump was asked about this yesterday. Here's what he had to say about new leadership.
The worst case would be we do this and then somebody takes over who's as bad as the previous person. Right? Most of the people we had in mind are dead. So, you know, we had some in mind from that group that is dead. And now we have another group. They may be dead also, based on reports. So I guess you have a third wave coming in. Pretty soon we're not going to know anybody.
In the neighboring country of Iraq, in Najaf, the birthplace of Iran's former Ayatollah, there was a symbolic funeral procession held today as people chanted against the United States and in support of the regime. One of those demonstrators speaking out about the conflict, saying this.
It is a symbolic funeral, which we consider a condemnation of the forces of tyranny, imperialism, and the Americans, so that they can see, even if you kill him, he remains in our hearts and our conscience. This funeral is a thorn in their eyes.
As the Israelis look east, they're also looking north. The Iran-backed Lebanese militant group Hezbollah firing more rockets and drones over the border overnight, and the Israelis striking back in the heart of Beirut, hitting the Dakhya neighborhood, a Hezbollah stronghold. We also understand new evacuation orders have been issued for civilians in southern Lebanon to move north of the Litani River, an indication the IDF may expand their ground operations. Maria?
All right, Trey, stay safe. Thanks very much. Trey Yingst in Tel Aviv. Joining us now with more is former diplomat and military officer and Hudson Institute senior fellow Joel Rayburn. Joel, thanks very much for weighing in. Give us your assessment here.
Well, I think, Maria, in terms of the military confrontation between the Iranian regime and the U.S. and Israel, the outcome is a foregone conclusion. The Iranian regime just doesn't have the military means to continue this kind of resistance for very long. You can see that the volume of ballistic missiles that they're able to launch successfully is diminishing. They still have a fairly robust drone capability, but that's not enough to tip the strategic balance. I think the question now in the coming days is how long it will take to eliminate their ability to disrupt the Strait of Hormuz so that commercial shipping, the energy supplies can exit the Gulf safely. But in the larger sense, Maria, when the Iranians are in an impossible position, when the enemy Air Force is controlling the airspace of your capital and really anywhere else in Iran that it wants to go, it's strategically game over. I don't mean to make light of the damage that the Iranian missiles and drones are doing in Israel or to our service members and so on. But if we zoom out from it and just look at it militarily, analytically, this is not a fair fight.
No, I mean, obviously, the U.S. and Israel have degraded in a significant way Iran's ability. But what about China, the China factor, in terms of its support for Iran? Does that replenish? And what about now the son of the deceased Ayatollah is set to become the successor to his father as the new supreme leader of Iran? Yesterday, the Israeli Air Force reportedly bombed the building where the deliberations were happening among the assembly of experts to find the successor for the Ayatollah. And the president further defended the ongoing strikes with Israel at the White House. Here's the president yesterday. Watch this.
Negotiations with these lunatics, and it was my opinion that they were going to attack first. They were going to attack if we didn't do it. Based on the way the negotiation was going, I think they were going to attack first, and I didn't want that to happen. So if anything, I might have forced Israel's hand, but Israel was ready and we were ready, and we've had a very, very powerful impact because virtually everything they have has been knocked out now. If we don't stop them, or if we didn't stop them, or if we didn't start, they've been decimated. But if we didn't do what we're doing right now, you would have had a nuclear war, and they would have taken out many countries.
Joel, do you agree with that? And also, what about my earlier question about China's support for Iran?
Well, let me tackle your question about the son of the supreme leader and what that means.
Okay.
If they actually do elect him as the next supreme leader. I mean, that's just doubling down on an already doomed strategy. And I think if there's a new team of Iranian leaders that attempts to continue to resist and doesn't capitulate to the demands that President Trump and the U.S. are making, they're not going to be very survivable. They may not be there by the end of the week. Let's be honest. Again, when the enemy air force is over your capital, you're not going to be running a state. You're not going to be mounting a coherent defense. China, look, already this is a strategic setback for China. Under Ali Khamenei in Iran, they had a key ally in this coalition of Russia, China, Iran that was essentially revisionist and destabilizing the region around it.
Absolutely,
Iran was a key ally. A key ally for Putin in Ukraine. It was supplying the drones and missiles that have been devastating Ukrainian cities. For Xi Jinping, the Iranian regime was a key energy supplier, and he was able to purchase that oil at a deep discount, and he's going to have to go look to replace that energy supply now. So it's a strategic setback for China, for sure.
For sure. And the U.S. Central Command reporting that the U.S. struck over 1,700 targets just in the first 72 hours of the operation, Joel.
Yeah, look, in putting on my former hat as a former CENTCOM officer, if I were sitting in Tampa or in some other command center monitoring the progress of the campaign, I'd say that we're way ahead of schedule. The decimation of the Iranian leadership, really the diminishing of their ability to strike with ballistic missiles. And they have no aircraft that can challenge either Israeli or U.S. aircraft. Their aircraft are all from the Shah's era or from the Soviet era, so they can't mount an air challenge. That means that for the next week, 2 weeks, the U.S. and Israel can just strike targets at their leisure. I think, what does that mean strategically? It means it's a regime that's just not going to be able to resist. At some point, probably not too distant, they're going to have to capitulate to the conditions that President Trump has laid down for them.
Well,
there's just no choice.
I want to get your take on what a post-Khamenei Iran looks like. I mean, they're talking about his son in charge here, as we just talked about. But what about Pahlavi? He's been the face of the opposition for a long time. He's joined me several times. And just this last Sunday, when we talked about Khomeini being dead, he offered his plan for a temporary couple of years. Watch this.
In this campaign is this time something not just to set back the Iranian nuclear program or anything like that. This is like full decapitation of the regime, and ultimately what will expedite its total collapse. As soon as the transition plan is put into gear, we want to make sure that we address the issue immediately, to make sure that we have the ability to have a stable process, to obviously lead to ultimately a democratic outcome, so the Iranian people get to choose their future government and system. We have the most diverse coalition of people dedicated to that process, representing different parts of the country, including religious minorities, ethnic groups that are all aligned in this national project that we have. From the time that we start until the day we can have the final referendum, I anticipate a period that should not be longer than a couple of years at the most. But what's critical is the first 100 days to immediately stabilize the country.
Joel, it's questionable whether or not the people of Iran want to go back to, I don't know, what could be a monarchy. I mean, Reza Pahlavi saying all the right things. He wants the people to elect, and that would be an incredible moment where we see Iranians actually choose their next leader. It doesn't look like he's got the support of the White House. Your thoughts?
Well, I think President Trump, in addition to the military objectives he's laid down, which are very clear, which is that an Iranian regime at the end of this cannot have the ability to lash out at the region and the world around it by projecting destabilizing power. Very clear military objectives. The political end state. The president is somebody who likes to keep his options open. He likes to maintain strategic ambiguity, but he has said that it's his inclination to support the Iranian people to be able to weigh in on their own political future, that they would be able to seize control of their own government and chart their own destiny. And whether that would be, it would then be up for them to decide whether they want to go back to some form of government that they had in the past, or whether they want to have a democratic transition and so on. You can see that President Trump is very sympathetic to that.
Absolutely. That's what he wants. I think that's what we all want to see. Freedom and a free election would be incredible after all of this time. Joel, thank you. Joel Rayburn joining us. We'll be right back. Stay with us.